Hey, what's up, race fans? Steve here with your 2014 NASCAR Week 5 little season chat where we talk about the events of this week as we head out to California for the race, but also some things from last week and the story yesterday, the big story yesterday, if you could tell from the title of the video, the proposed horsepower changes for 2015 in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, thinking about reducing horsepower 75 to 100. You know, a bunch of different things, a bunch of different thoughts. Let's get to the theory behind it. They want to make it more economical for teams. They want to make it so that more teams can afford their engine programs, can have it so they can have an engine last a little bit longer. They want endurance for the engines. But also they took into consideration the racing. They want the aero packages to work better at the slower speeds, but also the fact that it seems, and you can tell this yourself, every time we go to a track now, every time or every other time, there is a new track record. Every year, whenever we go back. And next year when we go back to these tracks the next time around, there'll be new track records again. So they want to kind of tone that back a bit because they realize, hey, listen, these tracks were designed to run at 150, 160, max 170. You know, the super speedway is obviously a little bit faster, but they weren't designed to run at 215 miles an hour, 200, you know, going into the corner, or 213 in some of these tracks, as they were saying in the article. They weren't designed for it. And I think, I'm personally of the issue that it's not a bad thing. I think you can have competitive racing at slower speeds, and it may even foster a bit more competitive style of racing at a slower speed. You have to look, no other example you need than to look yesterday at the nationwide race out in California. You had Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Kyle Larson racing hard for that win with 20 laps left. And you saw passing, you saw people able to make moves in the cars, you saw all those things, and the nationwide cars run at lower horsepower. They run at lower speeds. So you can have exciting racing, and sometimes even more exciting racing at the slower speed. So I don't think that you necessarily need bigger, better, faster all the time in NASCAR. The important thing is being competitive. The important thing is providing for exciting racing for the fans. And I think that a pullback in horsepower isn't exactly the worst thing in the world as far as competitive racing is concerned. It would be nice to see. Maybe it even allows some of these teams, they don't have to have the super horsepower anymore. They can be competitive. They can get an engine. They could have maybe one or two engines that they could afford, that they could run for the season. They could get some good power plants in there. They can maybe afford one Hendrick engine or two Hendrick engines or whatever else, the Gibbs engines, and be able to run them. And if they don't blow out on them, they're able to keep them throughout the season, and they're able to be a little bit more of a force, have better finishes. That's what you want. You want people to be able to finish it out on the track. You want the drivers to have a bigger part in deciding the outcome of the race, not just necessarily the engine you have or the team that you're associated with dictating your finish. You want to give people the opportunity to go out and race for the finish, and that's what you saw yesterday. Even though we're still talking about major teams that Harvick is on, that Kyle Busch is on, he owns his own team obviously, and that Kyle Larson, you're still talking about the bigger teams. But boy, that was exciting racing. And if they can get that with the aero packages, if they can kind of keep that excitement in the Sprint Cup Series, even at lower speeds, then I'm all for it. So I have no problem with that. So Carl Edwards, your winner last week, and it was kind of interesting at Bristol. And the only story I have about Carl Edwards, and my girlfriend loves this, so I'm going to tell you guys this one too. And it makes me think, anytime he does something good, I automatically think of this story. We were coming back from the fall race at Dover, and we stopped at the New Jersey Turnpike rest stops, which are very, very busy, obviously, very interesting places, and you meet a lot of interesting people. So I'm coming in, I'm wearing all my Jeff Gordon stuff. I go into the bathroom, and two gentlemen were there, and they had all football stuff on. So I'm thinking, yeah, they weren't really watching NASCAR this week. They weren't doing any of that. They were there for football. But sure enough, one of the guys stops me and says, hey, were you at the race today? Yeah, I was at the race. It was really good. Jimmy Johnson won the race. So the one guy was a Jimmy Johnson fan. So he's talking about Jimmy Johnson and all the rest of it. His friend, who's in the stall, says, man, he didn't come here to talk about Jimmy Johnson. And apparently the other gentleman was a Carl Edwards fan. And he shot back, man, nobody gives a shit about Carl Edwards. So He seems like, man, don't be upset that nobody gives a shit about Carl Edwards. But that makes me laugh because I happen to like Carl Edwards. I think he's a fun driver. And I think he has some personality, which is what you want. The backflips are fun. The fans like when he wins. So it's fun to see him kind of get involved and see him back in the chase. But he made an interesting point, too. He said, everyone's saying you punch your ticket and in. But with this many race winners, 4 race winners through 4 races of the season, not necessarily locked that you can get there with 1 win. It's a good start. It's what you have to do. But you also have to have good finishes so you're not worried towards the end if there are a lot of race winners. And that's the other thing. They had the article also this week that maybe the return of the good points day, which I hope not yet. It's a little too early for that. So hopefully we don't get to the good points day. But I understand their idea that, as you get more winners, teams are going to start thinking about points. Obviously, their win first, but also having good points days if they already have their win or to secure their place of the chase. So let's talk about California this week. A lot of fast speeds. You had Jimmy Johnson in practice, leading practice. You had Jeff Gordon second, which surprised me slightly, because it would be good for him on these type of wide open tracks to assert himself and say, hey, listen, I'm not going to be silent on 1.5 miles this year as he has been in the past, because that is where you can really pick up points and get your wins on the 1.5 mile tracks. But this is going to be a big 2 weeks for Jeff Gordon. He starts well today. I think he starts 6th again this week. He was fast in practice. He's got Martinsville coming up. I think it's important for him to have a good few weeks here and to finally notch that win. All the top 10 and all the top 5s in the world are going to be nothing if he blows out a tire, has one bad performance, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, same old, he's not going to get the win. So also what you like to see, if you're a Matt Kenseth fan, is you like to see Kenseth on the pole. It'll be nice to him to shake that kind of second-place hangover and get a good race under his belt. Maybe that pole is a good sign of that to come if you're a Matt Kenseth fan. The other thing from last week, and also we were just talking about blowing out tires, Darrell Waltrip made the point on the broadcast. For next year, have the inner liner on more tracks in more tires next year. There's no reason to blow out a tire and just destroy your car for the day when you could blow out your tire, get to pit road, and be able to get back in the race. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, enjoy the race.